We're doing another market watch today, and we're looking at 5 running backs that you can snag in Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're going to be looking at their player values, their advanced metrics, to see whether or not you want to buy, sell, trade, hold, burn on fire, whatever you want to do. But we're at least going to cover the information so you can get an idea of what you're going to do with these players in the future. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going hard in the paint looking at these players to help you build your dynasty teams. We're going over strategies, we're going over player values, we're finding those advanced metrics and everything else. Click that button, stop missing out. But our first running back today that we're going to be covering will be Aaron Jones. The Minnesota Vikings. Got the Photoshop photo right there. And he's going to the Vikings. We got a quarterback situation here that we're looking at. Is it going to be Sam Darnold? Is it going to be J.J. McCarthy? Who's it going to be? But is he going to get 3.8 targets a game or better in this offense? Is the targets going to be flowing? This team likes to run at a faster pace. They like to be top 5, top 3 in the league at pace. And if they're not doing that, then they're not really running to how they want to be right now. This offense, though, is really trying to configure what they're doing at the quarterback position. But last year, even though it was an injury-plagued year, when he was healthy, he was getting right double-digit production on like 6 games last year with 3 RB1 weeks, and the market does not know what to do with him. It looks like he's dropping a little bit, and he's falling in value, which should happen with age. But if you're playing money ball at the running back position, you're trying to play in 1 to 2 year windows, you're looking at him here in Minnesota, you're seeing Justin Jefferson and company. That should keep the wheels moving, keep things churning. Ty Chandler, it's been said in the media that he's still going to be getting a lot of touches. We shall see once the bullets are actually flying. But Aaron Jones can handle a workload, can get a lot of targets, can be the outlet in the passing game. The thing about him for Dynasty Fantasy Football, when I look at him, I don't want to build teams around him. I don't want him to be the focal point of my team. I don't want him to be the main option. I really want to be set everywhere else, and I just need a running back right now, and I'm just hoping he gets through the season. And if I can catch him cheaper than RB34, then okay. I don't think people who have them are willing to flip him right now. I think if you're going to flip him, I would do it closer to the start of the season, because people are going to realize they got Aaron Jones on the roster, that fantasy points that are really going to happen are going to be happening very soon once the games start being played, and they may be looking to make some moves with their team, and you might be able to sell him for a little bit more. So if I'm thinking about that, if I'm looking to get Aaron Jones, I'm looking to either get him now, or maybe if he has like a 2-game hiccup or a skid or a short sample injury, maybe I buy him on the cheap then. I'm honestly looking at him at ADP 34 or cheaper. If I'm in a startup draft, I am drafting wide receivers till my face burns up until I get that ick. And then once I get that ick on wide receivers, and the running backs on my team are not named Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, or any of the top young guys, then I'll start looking running back. And at 112 ADP, he may not be coming off the board for me. He just may not be happening. I may be getting some prospect wide receivers here still. I might be still drafting wide receivers, but I'm starting to get to that fringe spot to where I might be drafting them in a lot of leagues. Unless I'm playing around in some best ball leagues that are a little cheaper, not going to lie about that. So thinking about that scenario, he still might be too expensive, but he might be a little bit cheaper via trade right now versus what you're going to see come August. I think he can be productive in this offense, though. I think he can give you some RB1 weeks. I think he's going to be here for a short time, not a long time. 29 years old, 30 years old, older running back prospect. That is to be expected. That age, when you look at it, might allow you to catch him for cheaper than RB34 on the trade market, or he's not going to be very liquid. Our next running back, Zach Charbonnet, RB35, 114 overall. Again, we're at that fringe point where the wide receivers are starting to drop off, and now you're starting to play money ball with the running backs. And the thing about that, you got Kenneth Walker there. So we're looking at the touch distribution. He had a ramp up when Kenneth Walker was out. The storyline with this backfield, though, is injuries galore. Injuries galore. Kenneth Walker, off and on throughout his career, has seen injuries. Zach Charbonnet has seen some injuries throughout his career. Last year, he was injured a few times. Training camp, he was injured. He was injured at the start of the season. He was injured in the middle of the season. Both these running backs, like I said, in season, take their turns, and they get their opportunities of sitting the bench while being injured, and the other one gets to play. That being said, at his price tag, RB35, so you're catching him around RB3, RB4 price tag in startup drafts, he catches the ball out of the backfield. He has some upside with that. But if Kenny McIntosh climbs the depth chart in training camp, you got to pay attention to that, because he might make the waters murkier in the passing department, because he might soak up a target here and there a game, a couple targets, and that doesn't sound like much, but that could take away some of the floor. But he did see 40 targets last year. He saw 40 targets and caught 33 balls last year as a rookie with those injury spurts, with a rookie ramp up. So a full bill of health means that he could be seeing more targets, more opportunities. Him and Kenneth Walker being used off and on together as a good tandem, and you're getting him at around RB4 or RB3 price tag. And if you don't like what's there in the second round of your rookie draft, say you're back end of the second round, maybe even early third, kick the tires, see if you can catch him coming back at you, because that price tag saying, hey, that could happen. That could happen with a mid to late second, early third, maybe, maybe not. Depends on what your league's like. Maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe you're getting held with a vice script. Not all players are liquid. But considering this graph here of startup draft ADP, when it comes to ADP value, he is tanking in value. So he should be a little bit more liquid. He's still a young running back prospect on an offense that moves the ball. And he's going to get opportunities maybe to be the starter off and on throughout the season, as these two running backs just juggle injuries back and forth, as we've seen these last few years. We'll get some years where that doesn't happen, but we're seeing that happen, and we are predicting that, and that did happen. So these two running backs need each other on the depth chart, or this team needs these two running backs because of the injury history they have. Zach Charbonnet didn't have any major ones. Kenneth Walker didn't have any major ones. But they are taking their turns getting nicked up. And that's just part of the game. That's why you need two good running backs. And that's what Seattle saw. And he can keep things going. Plus his usage in the passing game with him being this cheap, if you want to go that way. In startup drafts, I may not be drafting a lot of him. I may not be. At 114 ADP, there's probably going to be a couple wide receivers that I'm looking at, that I'm trying to build my team around. I want to be top heavy at wide receiver and deep. And that being said, I'm playing Moneyball running back, and I'm paying up for those top running backs. And Zach Charbonnet may not be the guy there. That wide receiver ick has to be there for me to draft him. If the wide receiver ick is there, I'll look his way. But if it's not there, I'm not looking his way. But Austin Eckler, RB36, 118 ADP. Do you think he's washed? Do you think he's done? Because he could be used in the passing game quite a bit here in Washington. 5.1 targets per game last year, almost a 15% target share, almost there on 60% of the routes, 66.6 opportunity share when he was on the field. Even when he was on the low, he was still pushing double-digit weeks, but he did look washed a lot of the season. He is an older running back prospect. Going to be 29 years old this year on a new team, sharing the backfield with Brian Robinson with a rookie quarterback that can push it downfield. Does he want to target Austin Eckler? Does he want to do that? Is he going to go to his outlet? We will see about that. But Austin Eckler does have some upside here if he's using the passing game a lot. But more than likely, you're seeing the downturn. So if you're paying RB36 price tag, with there being wide receivers on the board, you might be out on that move. But if you can catch him for way cheaper than that, then that might be it. But he might be a player taking a swing at midseason. You might be doing that because he'll probably still garner some production. And that production might be 11 points a game, hovering around 10 with some down weeks, something like that. Nothing like what we saw last year. Maybe not 13.8. Maybe like 11, 10, 9. A game. but you're looking to piece things together. You got a 3rd round pick. You're throwing it around for a running back here. He's splitting the workload. This team's off and on because they got a rookie quarterback. Maybe he's getting fed in the passing game, though. Maybe that happens. But you're not going to bet on that. You're not going to bet on that, but it's October. You need a running back. He's splitting the workload. He's off and on. It's game script dependent. You need something now. You're hurt at running back. Mid-season looks like a good time to go after him if things are looking good. That's what I'm really thinking about Austin Eckler. That's probably when I'll go after him. If I'm going bad and he's looking okay, maybe trying to get a cheap get, trying to get some cheap targets, possibly, we shall see in the future. Devin Singletary, RB37. You see what I'm doing? I'm just going down ADP. ADP 126. Last year with Houston, he had a run. The Giants saw that run and said, hey, maybe we can catch that run for a full season on a cheap price tag. Maybe we can make it happen. Devin Singletary saying, hey, in the media, I'm Saquon Barkley. I can do it all. Watch me work. Eric Gray's looking good in OTAs. We shall see. Tyrone Tracy's got some pop in his step, but he can be used in the passing game a little bit. He's a very dependable running back. That's what the Giants want. He could be a money ball play. He really could be. I look for him to be on the field because he's very dependable. He's a good pass blocker. He's good in passing situations. He's going to be dirt cheap in Dynasty. Nobody's really mentioning his name. He's like the candy man right now of running backs. I think you can catch him at like RB40, RB45 price tag in Dynasty. People are not hip to these Giants right now. Danny Dimes coming back from the ACL. People are wondering about that. But who saw all the clips? Who's seen them all from OTAs, minicamp, training camp? This guy. His ACL's fine. His ACL's fine. He's moving laterally well. He's dropping back. His ACL's good to go. And Danny Dimes is not Patrick Mahomes, but he's not going to be really inhibited by that ACL injury. And Devin Singletary is going to be on the field. He's going to be getting targets. He's a dependable option. And he's like any other running back. He's going to get pounded to death probably. And he'll probably be up and down throughout the season considering this offense. And really his value is going to be tied to Malik Neighbors. Because Malik Neighbors, if he goes off, it's going to push the offense, which will push Devin Singletary. I'm not trying to tell you to buy, but I'm also going to tell you he's going to be a cheaper option than RB37. And he's going to be on the field. Because they did not pick him up to not be on the field. And Houston picked him up because he's dependable. He's been dependable throughout his career. He proved that. He blocks his face off. And people say blocking doesn't matter, but it gets running backs like this on the field. It gets running backs like Zach Moss on the field, RB39. We're skipping rookies, so RB38 was a rookie. I believe it was Jalen Wright. ADP 129 on the Bengals. I want both these Bengals running backs, him and Chase Brown, and they're cheap right now because the market's saying, hey, I don't know which running back to go with. I want to wait for training camp. So you got to buy in now because one of these two running backs are going to hit, and you just got to pull that straw and see what happens or get them both. But Zach Moss is in an offense where he could hit. Joe Burrow and company. We got Chase. We'll see what happens with T. Higgins. But he is a dependable running back. Same thing with Devin Singletary here. That's going to allow him to be on the field. Chase has got that pop in his step. He's a home run threat. They could really share this 50-50, which is what he was doing in Indy. 55.7% opportunity share out of the backfield. So Chase Brown, getting like 45% or something like that? Could you live with that? Or even with the inverse? Both of them could be productive in this offense, or at least have spike weeks, which could allow you to be happy with around RB40 price tag. Which could allow you to be happy with that. He's not going to get a lot of targets out of the backfield, but he is going to get those goal line looks. He is going to grind those short yardage situations and be between the tackles. He's going to be on the field because he's dependable. They know what's going to happen with Zach Moss. He's going to be able to be back there, pass block, get it done between the tackles. They know what they're going to get. They did not pick him up for the flash and sizzle. They picked him up because he's dependable back there, just like Devin Singletary. And these teams just need to get cheap at running back and get cheap dependability. That's what they're saying. And they're going to rely on the passing game. Their offense is Jamar Chase. Why do they need a flashy running back that's expensive? Why not get cheap dependability? That's what these teams are saying. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase. Well, Devin Singletary was there before Malik Neighbors, but they knew it was going to happen. They knew they were going to get a wide receiver because they were that high in the draft. They had things pegged out. They knew what they were going to do. Zach Moss, though. Cheap asset. Who are you getting, though? Him or Chase Brown? They're both dirt cheap. They both are plays that could really blow up for you. And with them being so cheap, they're not really going to bust at you. At 130 ADP, they're at a price where you're really in a fringe of that wide receiver ick. But again, it's a money ball play. But if you paid up at running back early in the draft and then hammered wide receiver, and then you got like a Zach Moss or a Chase Brown saying you're going hero RB, and then you're pounding running back at like ADP 130 and after or whatever, you're going to feel good about that, especially getting one or both these running back. A running back that's on an offense that's going to be pushing the pace every single day. That's something you're going to feel good at. The price tag is there. I don't think he's that liquid, though. I don't think he's that liquid. On the market, if I have him on my team, think about it. What would you do if you had him on your team? Would you be selling him for RB40, or would you rather see this through? You'd rather sell him for RB25 if you're going to sell him. So you're going to hold him. You're going to hold him. So the odds of getting a trade done is not that good because you know he's on the Bengals. You know everybody wants pieces of the Bengals offense. You know that. But if you can catch a deal, more likely you're catching him in startup drafts. That's where the liquidity is happening for Zach Moss. That's where you can get him. Underdog and redraft on the best ball leagues. Good price tag too. The market is saying with that, they don't know what to do with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Just get both if you can, if it's possible. If you can, in some leagues, some situations, some formats, not just Dynasty. Right now, they're cheap. One's going to go up in price. That's for sure. As we get into training camp, as people FOMO over the Bengals, let me know what you think about these running backs. Which running backs are you trying to get in trade right now? Drop that in the comments below. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.